Welcome to our first episode of this show where we'll be looking at classic comedies, deciding, do they hold up? Could they be made today? Are they still funny? And today we're going to start with the 1995 comedy Clueless.
Amber, my plastic surgeon doesn't want me doing any activity where balls fly at my nose.
About a girl named Cher at a Beverly Hills high school, her trials and tribulations. Honestly, if I had to summarize this movie, I don't know how concisely I could even do it. It's like 8 movies in one movie.
It's bonkers. It's bonkers how many different movies it is. It's like, it's 4 different movies that take place over the course of like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like the timeline is 2 weeks long.
I feel like it was a Netflix series that was condensed into roughly 90 minutes or however long the movie is. But I understand that it's based off a book, so they're trying to jam all the storylines in the book. But when it starts out talking about, they're trying to set up their 2 teachers together because I think the 2 teachers are miserable, that seems like it's going to be a plot line throughout the whole thing that's going to drive the movie. It just disappears. We forget about that. There's sexual tension between Paul Rudd and Ashley Silverstone. There's sexual tension between Ashley Silverstone's friend and Paul Rudd, and then the new guy that turns out to be gay and Ashley Silverstone, and then transforming the new girl at the high school into a popular girl. There's just so much going on. It's jumping from plot to plot to plot. It's just kind of messy, but at the same time, it's harmless. This
was at a time when I was fully aware of everything going on. And this was just pretty much an Alicia Silverstone vehicle. It was...
You say that it's like she was a thing in 1995. I don't remember 1995 as well as you might, Chris. But who the hell is Alicia Silverstone? What happened after 1995?
I mean, she was a thing. She was in the Batman movie.
Yes, that's the other
as
thing
Batgirl, and I think that was at the end of the 90s, maybe? I don't remember when that was because it was a terrible movie. I don't even remember. Was it George Clooney? Was it a George Clooney one, or I
think it was the George Clooney one, or was it the same with Danny DeVito? I mean, these '90s Batman movies were not very
okay.
memorable.
First off, we're gonna have to go back and visit that because the original Batman was an awesome movie, but Alicia Silverstone was a thing in the '90s, and she was one of the Jennifer Aniston for the Friends and all of that. She was something, and Alicia Silverstone was kind of a younger version as well. Yeah, kind of, yeah. But she was a thing, and I think it was really just meant to be a vehicle for her, and she's the lead of this bonkers movie.
And I think it worked out for her. I mean, if you would have not told me any of the context of her career after the movie, I would have thought that she would have become a star because she plays this role really well. And it's just a harmless, innocent, funny high school comedy. And it has similarities to a lot of other high school movies in any other generation, even though the styles of the mid-90s are completely irrelevant. The outfits in this movie are bananas. And the references to Paul Rudd mentioned something about Marky Mark in the movie, which I think is funny because I'm pretty sure Paul Rudd and Mark Wahlberg, if not have worked together, they definitely probably know each other now. This is Paul Rudd's one of his first major movies too. By the way, I should mention that he's only been acting for 3 years when this movie comes out, and he hasn't aged a bit.
No, he's a vampire because he looks the same in that movie as he does today as Ant-Man or whatever. It's crazy how much he looks exactly the same. But let me take a step back and just talk about the themes and the clothes and everything. All of the references and the clothes and all that, they don't hold up. Not even in the slightest bit. Whatever. Right? That was a thing. That was a huge thing. As if was a huge thing.
Ew! Get off of me! Ugh, as if.
The one dude in class talking about his Cranberries CD and flipping through one of the books. I still have some of those CD books hiding someplace in my basement with
old CDs. What's a Cranberry CD? This is an honest question. I don't even know.
The Cranberries were a popular 90s band from Ireland.
Like the California Raisins?
No, not the California Raisins. That was the 80s. And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to see the clothes. First off, her computer, ahead of its time. Again, this is 1995, and she's got a computer set up where she, scrolls through and picks her perfect outfit and sees it on herself.
But seriously, I actually have a way normal life for a teenage girl. I mean, I get up, I brush my teeth, and I pick out my school clothes. They do it over there, but we don't do it here. Fashion. Fashion. Turn left. Fashion. Turn left.
that's ahead of its time. But I want to get your opinions because I got to know what you thought of the Jankos. Do you even know what the Jankos were?
I have no idea.
Okay, so you remember in the middle of the movie where she's explaining kind of the cliques, which is a stereotypical teen movie thing, right? And there's a group walking down the like walkway in the middle of their campus, their high school campus, and she says herself, I don't understand the fashion today. And they're all wearing those jeans that are like huge jeans. Like
really
you could fit five people in one of the legs of your jeans. Those are Jankos.
That's the clique name is the Jankos?
No, the jeans were the Jankos. The jeans were the Jankos. Like that was a thing. Like that was if you wanted to be cool, you had a pair of Jankos.
Well, I interpreted it as that clique that was walking down the path, and she says, I remember that scene. I don't understand the fashion today. I understood them to be losers.
I would imagine that anybody that's of a certain age that remembers Jankos, remembers like you had to have Jankos, and like that was a brand, and like the style was a certain way. And then they also had the other like fancy jean was Jabos. I'm probably not even pronouncing that anywhere near correctly, but like they were like a fancy name brand, and they were not nearly as huge as Jankos, but they were like Jankos, and like that was the thing. I don't know if 90s clothes and Jankos will ever come back into fashion.
I was going to say I hope not, because I can kind of see if that comes 10 years from now, I'm just not going to catch up with it. I'm going to be very out of style. But yeah, I mean, if that does happen, then the fashion in this movie all of a sudden really does hold up, because it really doesn't. And there's like a lot of 90s references that don't hold up that are funny if you understand the context. There's one scene where Paul Rudd and Ashley Silverstone are watching TV, and they're watching CNN, and it's the conflict in Bosnia coverage of that on TV. And Ashley Silverstone says, I don't understand. I thought they declared peace in the Middle East. And I thought that was hilarious just because like I that's recent history enough, and I know of it, and it's like that's funny, but that joke 30 years from now, like that
probably not
doesn't hold up.
Let me ask you another reference, because it was early on in the movie too, where she's talking about Noxzema, and the first question I had to myself was, do people even know what Noxzema is anymore?
No.
I never know. Like I'm asking you about Jankos, I'm asking you about Noxzema, and you're looking at me like I'm coming from Mars or something. So I gotta ask sometimes, make sure that
Noxzema is kind of familiar now. I mean, I was alive in the 90s. It's just a hazy.
It's things like that like I'm going back and watching these movies and being like, I get that reference. I get that reference.
Yeah.
Like, and they hit home perfectly, because some of them it's meant to be like, it's fan service. Like at the time, like everybody who's watching this movie understands the jeans, they understand Jankos, they understand Noxzema, they understand the like trying to look pretty and cute, and I'm gonna go get myself a soda, what they call it soda, it's pop. I mean, let's be real about it.
In a lot of movies, if you lose those things, the premise and like the bigger picture can still hold up. And with this movie, like we said in the outset, the plot is all over the place. I mean, it's very messy. It jumps from thing to thing. I mentioned all the sexual tension. There's sexual tension everywhere. I was sexually tense during it.
They've got two terrible ugly duckling storylines.
Yes,
not just one, two.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, that was a thing for the 90s and the 90s
totally.
Teenage movies was the ugly duckling that you're changing. I mean, they even went into the 2000s too, but then, like, that was the thing. And they dropped two of them in, and that still doesn't even explain what the storyline is. And
neither of them were really that important to the payoff at the end.
No, not at all.
So like, I felt like I was getting fooled. And by the end of it, I felt like I watched like a bunch of different 30-minute storylines, which would have made sense if this was a TV series. But the things that do hold up throughout that, like I said before, are the high school cliques. Like the kids wearing Jankos, I interpreted them as being losers, but you had the popular kids, which Ashley Silverstone is in and her friends are in. You had like Ashley Silverstone's best friend's boyfriend, you interpreted to be a jock. No matter what era,
Donald Faison from Scrubs. I mean, you can say
sure, yeah,
so that the younger audience can
sorry,
understand who it
there
is.
There is somebody that you recognize in this movie as Donald Faison, probably the only person that you might recognize,
other than Paul Rudd.
And Paul Rudd, right. Yeah, those two. When Paul Rudd, you're definitely gonna recognize because he hadn't aged from that movie when he's in his 20s to This Is 40 when he in his 40s.
By the way, now I don't even remember her name, but her Alicia Silverstone's best friend. You know that she got like hammered. She was canceled in cancel culture
No, I didn't know
like
that.
a couple of years ago because like she kind of came out as conservative.
So why the title, There Goes My Social Life?
Because there went my social life. I mean, as soon as I came out with the tweet and came out as a conservative, everyone turned their back on me.
So-and-so from Clueless, and like that was how they, because I don't know if she was even in any other movies that like, other than maybe Lifetime movies.
The fact that they reference her, if they reference Ashley Silverstone today, they'd say from Clueless, shows the movie's significance and the fact that it did well, and it's culturally important and people recognize it. So I think that says something to the credibility of the movie. And like I said about the things that hold up and clicks and high school dynamics, no matter what, go to Animal House, which is a college movie made in the 70s. A lot of things in that movie would not hold up for this generation or future generations, but we all understand cliques, we all understand social dynamics at schools, and I just feel like any high school or college movie from any generation has a degree of it that will just always hold up.
Yeah.
Because just the cliques are kind of the same, even if the styles change, even if the references change. The dynamics in a school are always kind of the same. You kind of understand it. So I think that's the thing in this movie that holds up the best, is you just kind of understand the dynamics of the school. Even if you haven't gone to, and most of us haven't, a wealthy Beverly Hills high school,
Yeah.
or even a wealthy private school in general, you kind of get that.
one thing that I'm sure probably holds up for the youth of today is the step sibling thing, because like you got Paul Rudd and Alicia Silverstone, and they've got this stepbrother stepsister thing.
You're young and beautiful, and
You think I'm beautiful?
you know you're gorgeous, all right?
That's apparently a big thing right now is the stepsister step sibling
Yeah.
porn that's out there, and apparently they made good on it back in the 90s.
I never. It's become kind of a joke online about step sibling porn, because apparently it's just like a trending thing now. So I don't know how that started, but maybe it started with Clueless, because that made me uncomfortable throughout, and I guess it wasn't a big deal when it came. Was I kind of noticed early on? Again, I watched this movie once, so I haven't had the replay value of it. There was this weird tension between Paul Rudd and Ashley Silverstone in the very first scene that they're together, but it's like, that can't be.
Yeah.
They're step siblings. That can't possibly be a thing that's going to happen later in this movie, but it was. And I never was comfortable with it. I don't know if it was like, at the time, it was like a cute kind of romance.
No.
Like,
No.
it just is not cute. And that's kind of how it ends. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler
It's
alert
with
for the end of the movie.
With them together. It's not with, I mean, they show the teachers that they set up together at the end. They show all these plots kind of come back up toward the end of the movie, but this is the climax of it. And the payoff wasn't there for me. It was kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, she has a line where, like, again, spoiler alert, sorry, they're showing the, like, wedding, right? And you're meant to think that it's actually Alicia Silverstone and Paul Rudd that are getting married.
Yes, yeah,
And she
yeah.
has a line where she says,
As if I am only 16 and this is California, not Kentucky.
You may kiss the bride.
and then in the very next scene, it's not going to stop me from making out with my stepbrother and probably fucking around with him.
So, at the time, was it thought of as weird? Do you remember if it was?
Yeah,
weird then?
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it was weird as hell. I mean, how they, like, I don't know who the ad wizards were who thought, we're going to put together this movie where stepbrother and stepsister end up fooling around with each other throughout the movie, like, and thought, like, that's a good idea. That's good. Unless they were so forward thinking, like aliens from the future that came to, like, 2020 and knew that the trend was step sibling porn, and we're like, you know what we're going to do in 1995? We're going to have Alicia Silverstone and Paul Rudd act as step siblings and fuck around with each other. So I guess I think we've talked about this bonkers movie more than enough.
Yeah.
So the question is does it hold up?
So the messiness of the plots, the the stylistic and cultural references of the 90s, like this stuff doesn't really, it was hard to grapple with, and I think people younger than us would even have a harder time with some of that. But like I said a couple times already, it's an innocent, funny movie, and I think with a little bit more understanding of the first go around, I think I could enjoy it more the second go around. I think it would be a good thing to remake maybe as a Netflix series. And I'm going to say yes, it does hold up.
I think there was a TV show. I think they actually had a TV show at one point, a Clueless TV show. So, I mean, I think it does hold up, especially just bringing back one more thing. At the very beginning of the movie, she's driving around in her Jeep on a learner's permit, all by herself, smashing into cars or whatever. I think it holds up because white privilege, right? If you want to watch a totally bonkers movie that's all over the place, why not?
You don't have to think too much about it. You can just kind of throw it on.
Yeah, exactly.
So, slightly different reasons, but we both agree that it's 2. Yes, it does hold up.